Gould made a reckless bet with his friends. He tossed an expensive watch into the swimming pool, daring my mom to retrieve it. They wagered on how long it would take her. But after my mom did in, she never resurfaced. When they found her, she was still clutching that watch in her lifeless hand. Tears streaming down my face, I called Ethan demanding answers. His response chilled me to the bone. Did your mom get the watch? I bet $1 million on this. You can't let me lose. Rage coursed through my veins, making my whole body tremble. After laying my mom to rest, I walked away without a backward glance. Ethan's desperate pleas for forgiveness fell on deaf ears. I vowed never to return. 3 days had passed since my mom's funeral. Ethan never called again after that day. He was too wrapped up in his wild parties to spare a thought for me or my mom. In the early hours of the morning, I dragged my exhausted body back to the villa. The moment I reached the door, I was assaulted by bright lights pouring from inside. As I pushed the door open, deafening music and shouting hit me like a physical force. There was Ethan, the center of attention as always. Mia Chandler perched on his lap, their lips locked in a passionate kiss. I stood frozen, watching the scene with a cold detachment I didn't know I possessed. Suddenly, someone spotted me. The music cut off abruptly. An eerie silence fell over the room. Everyone's expressions were a mix of shock and awkward surprise. Ethan seemed to sense the change. He glanced up at me lazily, his hand still casually resting on Mia's waist. He made no move to push her away. "You're back," he said. His tone as casual as if he were commenting on the weather. Mia nestled closer to him, her lips curving into a smirk. "Sienna, it's just a bit of fun. You don't mind, right? Just a bit of fun?" Those words echoed in my mind, a stark reminder of how little I meant to them. How insignificant my mother's life had been in their eyes. In their world, everything was a game, even life and death. I felt a fire ignite within me, a rage so intense it threatened to consume everything in its path. But I held it in check, letting it simmer beneath the surface. Seeing my expression, Ethan's face darkened, his brows furrowing in annoyance. Sensing the tension, someone quickly changed the subject. "Sienna, did your mom get the watch? That's a limited edition. I bet my sports car on it. If I lose, I'm out big time." This game was Mia's idea. She really knows how to have fun. Laughter erupted around the room. "Was it fun?" I asked. My voice barely above a whisper, yet somehow cutting through the noise. My gaze, filled with hatred, swept across the room. Ethan leaned forward, straining to hear. "What did you say?" I gritted my teeth, each word dripping with venom. I said, "Was it fun to toy with my mom? Did you enjoy watching her struggle while you all laughed?" When my mom jumped in, they stood by the pool laughing hysterically. They refused to tell her where the watch had fallen. She looked so lost and confused in the water. When she didn't surface for a while, they got bored and left. No one knew that minutes later, my mom got a leg cramp. She struggled briefly before going still. When I arrived after the housekeeper's frantic call, my mom was pale and cold. Her hands still clutched the watch Ethan had dared her to retrieve. I cried until I had no tears left, but it couldn't bring my mom back. I've been with Ethan for 3 years. I knew he loved the party, that he could be reckless when caught up in the moment. But I never imagined he'd be cruel enough to gamble with my mother's life. What did my mom and I mean to him? If he truly cared about me, how could he treat my mother's life as just another game? When I confronted Ethan, his face darkened. "Anna Rowan, have you lost your mind?" Mia, still nestled in his arms, blinked innocently. "Come on, Sienna, is your mom really that precious? Can't she take a joke?" "Exactly. She's just a housekeeper. Don't act like you're Ethan's mother-in-law." Rage boiled in my chest. With tears in my eyes, I shouted, "This isn't a game. Who do you think you are? My mom's life isn't your plaything." Everyone was used to being pampered and spoiled. I'd always felt inferior around them, never daring to raise my voice or speak out of turn. So when I suddenly lost my temper, they were all taken aback. Anger flashed in Ethan's eyes. "Sienna, watch who you're talking to. Have I been too lenient with you?" "Lenient?" I laughed bitterly, tears streaming down my face. "Your kindness is too much for me to bear, mister." Gould. For 3 years, he'd summoned me at will. When he was happy, I got a smile. When he wasn't, I was tossed aside. Back then, if he hadn't been trying to spite his mother, the great Ethan Gould would never have chosen someone like me as his girlfriend. He called me his girlfriend, but to him and his friends, I was just another servant. Ethan finally noticed something was off. He stared at me, suddenly taken aback. I hadn't eaten or slept in days. My eyes were red and swollen from crying, and I'd lost so much weight I looked like I might collapse. For a moment, Ethan's expression softened. After a long pause, he pushed me away and spoke in an uncharacteristically gentle tone. "All right, I'll admit I was wrong this time. I'll apologize to your mom if that's what it takes." "Is that good enough? Apologize? You should apologize to her. All of you should." I said, my gaze sweeping across the room. "You're all murderers. You should go to hell and apologize to her there." Everyone was stunned by my accusation. Seeing that I wouldn't back down, Ethan's face darkened again. "Sienna, are you done? Is it worth ruining everyone's mood over something so trivial?" I said, "I'd apologize to your mom." "What more do you want?" "What did I want? I wanted them all to pay for my mother's death." Mia, angry at being pushed away, glared at me and approached with a mocking smile. "If that's not enough, count me in. I'll apologize to her personally." "How's that for sincerity?" She leaned in close, her smile turning cruel. "It's too bad you weren't there that day. Your mom thrashed around in the water for so long, panting like a dog. It was quite entertaining. I knew she was trying to provoke me, but I couldn't hold back. With a furious cry, I grabbed her hair and started slapping her face wildly. No one expected me to lash out. They stood frozen for a few seconds before rushing to pull me away, pinning my face to the floor. They'd always disliked me, and now they had the perfect opportunity to kick me while I was down. "Are you crazy?" Mia said she'd apologize to your mom. "Why are you hitting her? No wonder you're a maid's daughter. You have no class at all. Are you just going to let me get bullied like this?" "Ethan, I can't stand by and watch this. Even if Sienna is your girlfriend, you need to give us all an explanation for what happened today." Ethan didn't disappoint them. He walked towards me slowly, his eyes filled with an icy coldness that chilled me to the bone. Ethan stopped in front of me and let out a short laugh. Before I could understand what that laugh meant, he kicked me hard in the stomach. I went pale instantly, curling up in agony. A searing pain tore through my gut. I clenched my jaw, refusing to cry out in front of him. Seeing me writhing on the ground in a cold sweat, Ethan showed no trace of tenderness. His voice was as cold as ice when he spoke. "I gave you an inch, and you thought you were somebody important. You and your mom are just dogs I keep. When I'm happy, I throw you a bone. When I'm not, you better know your place. Understand, I was in too much pain to speak, but a deep sadness welled up inside me. This was the man I had loved for 10 years. I first saw Ethan when I was 15. My mom worked as a housekeeper for the Gould family. The first time I met him, I nearly got hit by the soccer ball he was kicking. I fell back startled. He ran over to me. The sunlight illuminated his handsome face, and I was mesmerized. His smile was mischievous and charming. In that moment, I fell in love with him. After that, I followed him around like a stalker, silently watching him from afar. I thought these feelings would stay buried in my heart, never seeing the light of day. But in my sophomore year of college, his family pressured him to go on arranged dates. He didn't want to, so he asked me to be his girlfriend. I'll never forget that day. I was overwhelmed with joy, unable to believe what I was hearing. Even though I knew he didn't really like me and was just rebelling against his family, I still agreed to be with him. Mrs. Gould was furious. She kicked my mom and me out, but Ethan took us in at his villa. I thought that eventually I would win his heart, that he would fall in love with me. Later, he met the girl from the arranged dates, Mia. Their similar backgrounds quickly brought them close. He introduced Mia to all his friends, went everywhere with her, hugging and kissing her openly, completely disregarding me as his girlfriend. In their social circle, I was a joke. No one believed we would end up together. Our relationship began with a mistake, and now it was finally over. Unable to get up from the pain, I stared hopelessly at the ceiling. Ethan, let's break up. From now on, I never want to see you again. Ethan froze for a moment. Then he spoke coldly, we can break up, but you hit Mia. I want you to kneel and apologize to her. I just stared at him, my eyes clearly showing refusal. Mia's face was already swelling up. Ethan glanced at her, his anger intensifying. I'll give you one last chance. Will you kneel or not? I continued to look at him, a mocking smile tugging at the corner of my mouth. My attitude completely enraged him. Ethan narrowed his eyes. Looks like you need a lesson to remember your place. With a nod from him, the group of young men rushed at me, punching and kicking. He stood to the side holding Mia, watching with icy eyes. It hurt so much. For a moment, I thought I saw my mom coming to get me. Only when I coughed up blood did the blow cease. Ethan crouched in front of me, his expression arrogant. He spoke as if granting a favor. Now do you know your mistake? I forced a smile uglier than crying. The biggest mistake of my life was falling in love with you. Ethan's face darkened. Who do you think you are? I can have anyone I want. Why would I care about your love? If you're not dead, get up and get out of my house with your mother. No need to tell me. I'm leaving now. I struggled to my feet, feeling like I'd been run over by a car, to sort of even lift my arms. After a few steps, Ethan suddenly called me back. Didn't you hear me? I said, take your mother and get out. I paused, fighting back tears. Don't worry. My mom is already dead. You'll never see her again. Mia rolled her eyes disapprovingly. Come on, even if you don't want to leave, there's no need for this act. Maybe if you beg Ethan he'll let you stay. I let out a scornful laugh, not wanting to say more to them. I had only come to collect my mother's belongings. I never expected to run into these mad dogs. Seeing me walk away without looking back, Ethan coldly spat out. Whatever trick you're trying to play, you and your mother must leave today. I'd said what I needed to say. It was up to him whether to believe it or not. Ethan didn't say anything more. He picked up his phone and made a call. Butler, make sure Ms. Ward packs her things and gets out today. She's fired. The butler on the other end was silent for a while, then sighed. Sir, Ms. Ward passed away 3 days ago.